John Harbaugh has already made some major changes with the New York Football Giants, and they are not stopping. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and what we're talking about on today's show, it's bad news for Mr. Joe Schoen. Shout out to Jordan Raanan and shout out to Bobby Skinner as Jordan went on the Giants Nation show. They did their collab show, Breaking Big Blue Times Giants Nation, and he said the Giants are going to be hiring some sort of executive vice president. We had heard when Harbaugh was going on his tour of being recruited and teams were trying to pitch him that they are the spot for him, especially with the Miami Dolphins. It was that they could bring in his guy, a guy in the front office that they would work together with. And there was a lot of thoughts that it could be someone coming from the Los Angeles Chargers, who we will talk about momentarily. But it sounds like there is going to be a move made high up in the front office that will essentially be John Harbaugh's guy. Jordan said this on the Breaking Big Blue Times Giants Nation show. Said, I heard the Giants are hiring some sort of executive vice president. The interesting part of that to me is that this role, and then says, look, they're hiring a lot of positions. They're going to be a whole bunch of new positions. But this one that I heard about, that they talked to a bunch of people about, the interesting part about that to me, this executive vice president, whatever the role may be or might turn into, it reports directly to John Harbaugh. So that is very interesting. When you're talking about, okay, he doesn't report to the general manager, Joe Schoen, he's directly reporting to John Harbaugh. And we said this when there were rumors and speculation the Giants were going to do whatever it takes to land Harbaugh. And I said it. This is a John Harbaugh operation now. You have gone from a Joe Schoen-led football team where he is the face of your organization to you are playing Harbaugh ball at 1925 Giants Drive. This is a John Harbaugh football team, and you are going to operate from the top to the bottom in a Harbaugh type of way. And immediately when I saw this quote from Jordan on their collab show with Bobby, I was like, is this going to be the Kevin Abrams replacement? The guy that ironically got fired or stepped down after being with the team for 20 plus years and was supposed to be the next GM up before they hired Joe Schoen after Dave Gettleman got fired? Could Harbaugh be bringing in his guy to now occupy that seat? I would say keep your eyes on Chad Alexander. That is the name that was attached to Harbaugh throughout this process. When Miami moved on from Mike McDaniel, it was like, oh, the owner's there, they're Michigan men, and they could bring in Alexander to try to lure in Harbaugh. Right now, Alexander is the assistant general manager for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's also worked for the Baltimore Ravens, so he's got some Harbaugh ties to him. And that was the dream pairing that everybody was pointing to that could go to a new team and try to resurrect that franchise. Joe Schoen said at one point, I think it was actually at the press conference where John Harbaugh was introduced, he did an interview on the side, and he said there wasn't anything at that moment. Also, let him know expectations could change. The expectation was not to hire somebody new in the front office in a big role. But I think it's kind of easy to see what's unfolding here and what's changing. It's not hard to see. It's almost like this picture kind of says it. I'm coming down. You're going up the stairs. We're going to handshake, and we're going to pass the baton. And John Harbaugh is now going to be the face of football. And he's going to be the top decision maker. Right, Joe? Like the way that he was speaking to him at the press conference was kind of like Harbaugh putting his foot down saying, I'm the boss. I'm the captain. You work for me now. Right, Joe? And that's why it was so critical that Harbaugh waited until that Saturday after being kind of leaked on Wednesday that there was a handshake agreement, but it took 3 days for pen to get to paper because Harbaugh was not going to sign until it said in ink that he reports to ownership and not the general manager. And now you're hiring a guy who's going to report to John Harbaugh and not Joe Schoen. It's not hard to see what's going on here. Joe Schoen's power is being relinquished and it is being handed to John Harbaugh. And he is now going to be able to hire people in positions of power that he wants there. And when you coach for 18 years and you put together a Hall of Fame resume like Harbaugh has and will continue to do with the Giants, you get to do big dog shit like that. And now we're a Harbaugh-led football team. And we're playing Harbaugh ball at 1925 Giants Drive. Get your shirt today, chatsports.com/HarbaughNYG. Fast, physical, and a love of the football. That's what it's about. Do you love football? Or do you only love football because what football can do for you? I love the way he says football and how often he does it. And we're doing it at 1925 Giants Drive. Get your Harbaugh ball t-shirt today before they sell out. I want to just close the show as it looked like John has kind of been on a media tour going on the Howard Eskin show. He went on ESPN radio to talk with Gary Myers. I know he did a sit-down with the New York Post. He also did a sit-down as well from NJ.com. He's making his rounds, letting everybody know, I'm the man, I'm the coach. But this quote in particular stood out with me. Said this to Howard Eskin. It starts with the Eagles. I mean, let's just be honest about it. The Eagles are the defending champs, talking about the NFC East champs. I remember when my dad would tell us that when Bo Schembechler took the job at Michigan in 1969, when Michigan was down and Ohio State was the reigning national champs, it was like we had to beat Ohio State. Everything we do, every decision we make is with Ohio State in mind. And they ended up building a team like Ohio State. And then they beat them the first year. So you got to build a team to beat the Eagles. Yeah, you got to beat the Commanders and you got to beat the Cowboys, but the Eagles are the champs. So we have to build a team to beat the Eagles. And everything we do, every practice we have, every film session will be with that in mind. I mean, you better do it or you have no chance. So how hard is it going to be, he asks? It's going to be really hard, you know? But it's going to be hard for them to beat us too. We're going to be really tough to beat. So good luck with that. And we'll see how that plays out. Chills. I read that last paragraph and I get chills. Good luck with that. But we're going to be hard to beat too. And I love this confidence and swag that John and Coach Harbaugh are bringing to the Giants. It's once again, I hate saying this phrase, like I've already said, but we talked about the Giants, us, me, you, Dupree, everybody, for the last 15 years on Sundays. We woke up with the hope to hopefully Giants show up today. Hopefully they get a win. Man, I wish they could win today. No, you expect to win now. John Harbaugh just told you. Yeah, the expectation is to beat the Eagles, and that's what we're going to have to do. But they're going to have to beat us too, and that's going to be tough. You no longer go from a gimmick organization that hopes they can win 4, 5, 6 games to a team that has the expectation to win 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games and win when it gets cold outside in January, and hopefully you win that 5th one in February. Some more quotes from John Harbaugh, who, again, did a bunch of media stops, said this on what led him to choosing the Giants. One, he said it was the team that offered him the best chance to win. And he felt really good about the team, the players, Jackson Dart, and the defensive front. He mentioned the offensive line and the running back duo, Scadaboo and Tracy, and Malik Neighbors, and a great young tight end. And character, the character of the team. He talked about the ownership as well. In this clip, there was a video where he's talking to Mr. Eskin, and he's like, Malik Neighbors, I don't know, Jim. It was pretty funny. So, best wide receivers he ever coached, maybe outside of Lamar Jackson. I guess you could throw Derrick Henry in there as well. The most talented offensive player at a skill position he's coached as well. I think he's pretty fired up about what the Giants got on their roster. Shout out to the Big Blue Film Room on Twitter, quoting Harbaugh in his New York Post interview with Steve Serby, says, I won't tolerate a lack of effort. That's not negotiable. And you got to go out there and you got to play with great effort. Play as hard as you can. How many times have we come away from watch parties where we just watched the game we talked about? It's like, man, did Deonte Banks give the best effort he could today? Did Dexter Lawrence give the best effort he could today? Did Kayvon Thibodeau play with that chip on his shoulder for all 80 snaps today? The demand to play with 110% effort is going to be non-negotiable, and that's going to be a major change for this team. Another quote from the Howard Eskin show said that Jackson Dart was probably the number one reason that Harbaugh picked the Giants. I really like Jackson Dart. I'm excited about this guy. I love his tenacity. I love his grit. I think he's super talented and super determined. He was on another show, and he was talking about that Jackson Dart's a football junkie. And as he's on his fishing trip, he's been texting John and letting him know that he wants to be a part of the head coach or the offensive coordinator interviews. And he's like, hey, we got this. It'll be all right. So good to see that Dart is all in. We knew that. This guy's football around the clock, and him and Coach Harbaugh are going to be best friends. Another one from WPG 84 from the Gary Myers interview on ESPN Radio. John Harbaugh says the Giants have already started on the short-term planning in terms of the salary cap and working extensively on the free agent class and assigning values on free agents. They're starting to get rolling. They're starting to put things into motion, which means we are inching closer and closer to New York Giants football. Short-term planning on the salary cap. Time to start using some void years and start spending like a real winning team. Because all the winning teams in the NFL right now, they're using the salary cap as a tool instead of looking at the salary cap and being frightened of that. So the Giants have been recently. They need to use that as a tool to improve the team. Again, you're not sitting on your hands with Harbaugh at the helm. If you're fired up for Giants football, why is he talking about the salary cap? He's the coach. Or maybe he's more than just the coach. If you're fired up for Giants football, hit that thumbs up icon and make sure you are following me on social media. Man, Giants football. Long way away, but I think we might actually be back. Give me a follow and let's go Giants.